Welcome back, my friends. It's your friendly neighborhood commentator slash podcast co-host, Brian Williams, joined by my fellow handsome commentator slash co-host, Adam. And once again, we are going to sit down, take some time out of your life, and talk about OCW. So, Adam, people at home, what do we got on board today?
Well, Jordan, thank you for the introduction. I had a misspelling. Okay, here, fix it. All right. So we're gonna kind of recap with what we talked about last week, or not last week. It's been 2 weeks now. It's actually been a little bit of time, but we're kind of getting back into that recap of the face and heel divide, and we are joined by two guests that want to talk about that specifically. Bash is going to be joining us, Mr. Jimmy. Go ahead and say hi, Jim.
Hi.
And we got Junko here, somebody who definitely came to me like, hey, I want to talk about this. I got names that I want to discuss here. So, Junko, say hello.
Hello.
All right, so we're going to talk about this heel and face divide. One of the things that actually recently happened here, and I was quite happy to see, is that Riot put together a babyface and heel list of the female roster, and when I looked at that, I immediately started wondering, do I have this wrong? Do I have a misconception? Because the division is pretty clearly baby faces superior to the heels in terms of numbers. And I started wondering, do I got this wrong? Do I have it wrong that the male roster actually has a lot more baby faces that I'm letting on? And somebody, I'm not going to say who it was, told me that, yes, I'm an idiot. That person might be in this podcast. And that I should reassess the situation. So that's why we got people here. They're going to tell me why I'm wrong, which is pretty common actually. So we're going to start with Bash. Bash, you got some views you want to share on heels and faces in OCW, and you feel that we need more distinction in most characters. So tell me what you mean by that in terms of there needs to be more distinction in characters.
You need to have a clear-cut motive as a character. I think that's the defining part of having a character and building a character is having a clear-cut motive. You either need to be someone that the fans can cheer or someone that they can boo. You don't want it to be a guessing game. And I don't want to pick on a guy, but like I'll use like John Carter in season 18 as an example. Well, like especially towards the end of it, like one week you'd be like, oh, he's trying to be a good guy. The next week you're like, oh, he's an asshole. That's very confusing to a viewer, right? You either need to be a good guy or you need to be a bad guy. And I'm not saying that there are very few and like once in a blue moon situations where you can't have someone who kind of toes the line, but in 99.9% of situations, you should have a face and you should have a heel, and you as a character should have an alignment and where it means something. Like I'll give you an example. Someone who does this really well is Jamie. All of his characters go from being face to heel or heel to face very well. Like Jordan Trance's turn was very good. Suplex's turn was very good, right? But they're always defined in the direction that they're going because then it creates those huge moments and pivots for the characters, right? These big turning points. If you're a shithead one week and a good person the next week, nobody's going to give a crap when you do either, right? Like that's the way that I've always looked at, kind of like the whole wrestling thing. I mean, in a lot of ways, for people who like superheroes, it's like superheroes. You have the good and evil, right? And that's the wrestling good and evil. Like you, like being kind of in the middle and towing the line doesn't really do much for most people. Like I said, outside of very select stories. So people who can't commit one way or the other, it creates a conundrum for their characters. So that's why I feel that way.
Okay, so you gave one example of somebody who kind of did a little bit of flipping and flopping back and forth. You seem to feel that that's a much more pervasive thing within OCW, that there's a lot of characters who are kind of jumping back and forth. Why do you think that ends up happening the way that it is?
The way that OCW works, honestly, it's the opportunities that you're given and what you can come up with. It's not, look, let's talk wrestling, right? Like professional wrestling, real like WWE, whatever other promotion you want to talk about. There's stories laid out, all of that stuff. Like people have clear directions. They're told which direction they're going to go because most of the time they try to make sense. They don't always succeed, but then again, you have the human element of us as handlers trying to negotiate things out and all of that stuff. I think that's a pervasive issue within this. But if you go, kind of even deeper into it, I think sometimes people just look at things at a week by week basis instead of looking at things with a long term outlook. I know when I first came, I just kind of was like, all right, I'm doing this week, then I'll do this thing, and then I'll do these 2 things next week. And then it was, oh, I'm doing these 3 things next week. You know what I mean? And it just was kind of me taking it week by week. Now I have a long term plan. Generally, I have goals. I have an understanding of kind of where I'm going, and that type of stuff. So that's quite important when it comes to building a character and having a proper direction, right? So I just think that it's a lack of long-term planning for most handlers and not understanding the actions necessarily in week to week and how they're taken, and they just can't find the right directions. Like, it's just like the heel on heel feuds, right? Which is very something that we see a lot of in OCW, where 2 guys are just like, I'm going to try and out bad guy you, right? Which, honestly, in most situations doesn't work. You've got to have 2 special characters in order to want to see that, like, oh, let's out bad guy each other. But it's something that happens so much in OCW. Even if it's 2 special characters, I don't know how special it would be, right? So it's like crime in OCW. It's everywhere. So what's the point in doing it? Because you're just like everybody else. It doesn't make you stand out at all. So that's really why I feel like it's important. I've always felt like you've got to have one. You got to be one way or the other. That's what makes people either cheer you or they boo you. Don't make people confused about who you are.
Okay. Jordan.
Yeah.
Do you feel it's as big of a problem in OCW that Jim does?
See, I'm kind of half on what he was saying. Some of the stuff I was completely disagreeing on. Like when he mentioned like some of the things that you're potentially offered when you're doing stuff within OCW, I think that's kind of a cop out. Like if you're just, for example, I'm not saying this has happened with anyone here, but it's like, Adam, if you are a clear-cut babyface and I come to you as a babyface champion and I'm like, I want to give you a world title match, I would not expect you to change your alignment and start acting heel just because my alignment is babyface and so is yours. I do agree with the long-term planning and understanding like your character and his motives or her motives or their motives, whatever, identity you want. I think that is more of the actual issue with OCW is I feel like a lot of people, like one of the things that it will always be extremely different, of course, from us to real wrestling is real wrestling. Some of these people know, okay, I'm going to lose at the Royal Rumble, but at Backlash 4 months from now, I know I'm going to win. Whereas in OCW, you can sit there and you can have a feud and be like, okay, I want to do this feud for 3 months, hypothetically. But if you win the first match, well, maybe you can't extend it because, maybe no one wants to see it again, or maybe staff is like, nah, we don't want that to get reran too quickly. So, it's more so your character and what you're doing with your character needs to be the utmost important thing that's going on. And then anything that happens to them is just like, so if you win a title, it's like, okay, Parca was going like, the downfall of his babyface run was happening regardless of him becoming world champion. He had to fight Mark Reese, and people were automatically being like, oh, he's a piece of shit. He's going to screw over Reese again. He's not a good friend. And it ate at him. And it eventually, he was going to become a heel regardless of whether he won that world title or he lost it. Another thing that made me chuckle from one of the people that probably commits the most crime in OCW is how he said that, crime is so prevalent in OCW that some of these things just aren't special. And that's something that I feel like Jay has made a comment multiple times with. There was the 1 week, I almost want to think it was John Carter or a Sheldon match where the finish the finish was redone, and it was, it was more like cinematic. It wasn't an actual comp finish. And once that domino tipped, a lot more people started following suit and doing the same thing. And I think that's an issue in itself, where people are like, oh, well, this person did it, so I'm going to do it. And it's just like, no, I did it because it's special, because it's not happening so much. You doing it just makes it less special that I did it, and just makes it more of a norm that just typically is dog shit.
Okay. Junko, you're relatively new in comparison to the rest of us here. So you're... Say that again?
Jim's still relatively new. Like,
well, Jim, Jim
is just well ahead for how long he's been here.
Sure. Okay, so Junko, in relation to the amount of time that the three of us have spent here, you're relatively new. What is your viewpoint in terms of like the heel face divide within OCW? Do you feel it's too heavily skewed one way or the other?
I think it's just a reflective of what wrestling looks like today. I think everybody kind of likes the anti-hero trope and doesn't like to pick a side, so they kind of try to steer that way. The problem is you run into issues where you have to pick a side, right? So for me, I had to pick a side. Eventually, she's still very chaotic, and I can bounce left to right with the snap of a finger, but eventually I would have to pick a side. I think everybody just likes the anti-hero trope, to be honest. That's just my opinion.
That's fair. I mean, really recently, we were actually talking. I think I came to you. Something, you have to remind me. Something happened to your character where, like, all of a sudden you had a huge swell of face support.
Yeah,
and then
I remember.
What can you remind me what that was?
When I played Ashley, it was like maybe my third match, and she killed me, and she hit like her super finisher, and everybody kind of went crazy in the forum.
Yeah, Ashley cheesed the fuck out of the rookie.
Yeah, and then you came, and then we had a conversation. You're like, yeah, you should probably run with this. So I kind of did. That's when like the whole World Tour stuff began, and everybody grasped it. But I still wanted to still kind of be chaotic neutral. It's just, hey, if you guys like it, you like it. You don't, you don't. But eventually, I had no choice but to pick an alignment. So when M came, I had no choice but to say yes.
I mean, I don't know if you had to say yes.
I didn't have to say yes, but I think for the storyline and what we had developed a story, and based off of the story, I had no choice but to be heel. Like, again, the Junko World Tour stuff is there. People still like it. So if I decide I want to go face, I can do that easily. At the end of the year, whatever feud happens, and whether I win or lose, if I decide I want to go face, I think I can do it. And I think I can translate it well. But again, it has to be. I think this conversation stems off you just preemptively thinking and having a story for your character. I think a lot of people right now who are in the middle don't have a story. And based off of this list that we're looking at, the one that Riot created, I think the reason why we thought that there were more heels than face is because most of the women in OCW that are predominantly doing stuff are female, are heels. So for example, I'm looking at the list. Who's doing stuff right now? Me, Emp, Marissa, Pearl, and Suplex. Those are the prominent women, right? Obviously Debbie left, but you know what I mean? So I think that's why it looks that way. Obviously, when you list it now, even me, I was shocked too, Adam, where it was like, okay, baby faces, like there's a lot of them, but the problem is that a lot of them aren't doing anything.
You need to send me this list, because respectfully, that is so wrong. OCW has minimal to almost no true baby faces. Like, I just, this Jim, Junko, Adam, whomever needs to send me this list, because
yeah, I'll send it to
you. The one thing that you said, you actually reminded me of something that Bolek said, and I'm almost pretty sure me and Adam actually covered this on the last time we chatted. But how you sit there, it's interesting, because in a way, it's not like you're actually respecting the wrestling alignment and how stuff works, because when you said you can easily go face, it's like right now, for you specifically, for the Junko character, I will say you have not done, I mean, you fucking drove Debbie into the goddamn river. So, I mean, that's attempted murder. So it's like, in a sense, like, I don't think it is as easy as you think it would be. I think that's another thing at certain times that OCW has kind of an issue with, and it's no fault. I mean, it kind of is fault to some people, but it's like the separation between handler and character is, I think, what murkies up people and how they view certain people as, you know, the characters with their alignment. Like Junko, you, the person, I like you. I think you're very cool. So naturally, I would be more
cool
willing to try and, I'm a piece of shit, but I would be more willing to receive the Junko character as a baby face. I mean, even though I think off Jump Street you should have been the baby face, I would have. I'm glad that you have someone like Emp, who I'm hoping is in a positive way, you know, grooming you and trying to help you with OCW. But it did inside of me, with the current alignments that is going on in OCW, it did kill me inside, because it's like you're new, you're a rookie. And while sure you're not winning all your matches, that's even more of a reason why I would love for you to have been to babyface, because it's like, okay, you're a heel, okay, I want you to get your shit beat. Like in a way, you aligning with M kind of gives me more like NPC, like kind of like you know, minion, where it's like, okay, I want you to lose because I want this person to get to Emp. Whereas if you're a babyface, I'm gonna keep cheering for you until you win, and when you finally win, I'm gonna fucking freak out. So it's like when I hear people say these things that, you know, oh, it only take me 6 months to become a babyface. It's like, brother, you are so wrong, because I tried it for 18 months. And whether it was, you know, Jake will sit there and, you know, probably debate with me back and forth on how it was received, but I feel like it was a catastrophic failure. No one gave El Parca the chance of being a babyface, even though the trials and tribulations he went through, I feel like, were far more than deserving, but it is what it is. So it's like, it's interesting hearing that come from people that, like, oh, a babyface turn could happen rather quickly, when it's like, I don't think so.
I guess that's just my philosophy, though, right? I think, like, for example, a specific wrestler in a specific show on TV that we watch that jumps off that's really big, and he jumps off the top rope, right? If he were to do that to the current champion, I think most people would cheer. That's why I'm saying, like, I don't think it really means much. It doesn't take much to switch from one side to the other. Again, we can debate that if we want when it comes to when I do my specific list. I guess we can kind of talk about those things. But I don't know, that's just my philosophy. I don't think it takes much.
It gives me a chance to get Jim back in here, because Jim and I actually talked about this really recently in terms of, myself and Jordan talked about this on the last podcast too. There's a lot more of audience reactions, and it got brought up with Emp. Like, they're cheering for. Well, there's a vocal crowd that's cheering for Emp. Does that make her a face? She's obviously doing very nasty, naughty things. And some of the things are so visually appealing and enjoyable that the natural inclination is, oh, this is really, really cool. Well done. But at the core foundation of it all, she is a heel. She is a bad person doing bad things. It's just that she's doing things in really cool ways that ultimately gets us cheering. And that brought up the idea that that's why things can change so fast in OCW and not necessarily be so bound to the real-life expectations that we've created within wrestling. So this is kind of a chance for Jim to, like, he shared his list with you.
I love it.
Gives me a chance to, like, look at it. And, like, I've seen the list before, I've gone through it before, but this is your first time seeing it, I think. So, Jim, like, when did you put this together, and was it as easy for you to make as you thought it was?
Probably not as easy as I thought. There were a few different situations where I looked at it and I was like, I don't know. Like, Nate Ortiz, I have him as undecided because, like, even recently I changed that because, like, I thought he was, like, kind of a face before, and then he started working with Mugen, and now he's, like, coming out and doing championship celebrations with Emp, like, who would obviously be a heel, like you said. We just had that conversation. So it wasn't as easy as I thought. There were certain characters where I'm just like, I haven't seen enough. And there are more faces than I thought. I just think, even though there might be, the numbers are close, the distribution of where the faces and the heels are is the problem. We have more part-time faces and we have more full-time heels, if that makes sense. So we have faces, they're just not here every week. So we have heels that are here every week, and that's the disparity. So it's not necessarily the numbers as much as it is the frequency in which we see the baby faces and the heels. I think that's truly what it comes down to.
That was great.
Okay. Brian, when you look at that list, is there anybody who stands out as like I disagree with that person 100% being in the alignment that they are?
Usually I hate my fellow white person, but I have to say this white man did a fantastic job. This is very well done in the sense of who he put as what, and I definitely yeah, this is he's spot on with pretty much every person in this. I can absolutely agree, from heel, face, and undefined. Like, very, the only one I would say that is probably not undefined would be Scotty. I would feel like she's absolutely a baby face and has shown that in her writing and kind of like what she's done with her, her personal character and her personal story. But like literally outside of that one individual, this is creme de la creme. Like, Jim, you should take a bow. This is very well done.
Well, look, I really sat there and thought about it. And obviously, I watch and read everything, so like I take everything into account from what I see, and really that is the thing. It's like we have so many part-time baby faces who are legend types, or just like people who aren't here all the time, like Horse, for example. Like our baby faces, they're just not on the show all the time. So when they show up, yeah, they fill in the baby face role, but they're not here week to week, and that's our disparity at times. So we need more, I guess, consistent baby face presence would be the answer to this. In order to fix the disparities in, kind of the storylines with heel on heel stuff, but that's really where it's at.
There are two names on the list that I actually want to talk about, though. I want to ask about C Note. Junko, how would you define C Note? Heel, face, undecided, undefined.
It's tough because it looks like he's doing a transition now, just based off of the last two feuds that he's had with Jinxie. So right now it looks like he's transitioning. I always thought of him as a heel, just based off of his personality, his persona, even the way he comes across on the mic. I always got a heel tendencies from him. I'm curious to see. He wasn't on my list. I only had like 3 for each one. But yeah, he can even be obscure to see what he does as a face. But yeah, I always got heel from him. Nothing about him said face to me.
Okay, so I want to pop in here real quick about C-Note if I can.
Yes, please do.
I think that C-Note, look, I sat on podcasts last year around, what was it, Summerside, and was like decrying it because C-Note was beating people in the head with bricks and shit, and like, you know what I mean? Like, so I think going to Brian's point of like it's not so easy to turn face, right? I think there are certain moments where you can easily turn face, but it's fewer and far in between than people are willing to admit. And I think it's been one of those situations where I like Jinx, and I think Jinx does great work, and so C-Note as well. They're both really good guys, and they put in the effort, and they do all their good stuff, and their stuff is good too. It's just a matter of these guys are really out healing each other right now, and I need to see remorse from C-Note for the things that he has done in the past in order to feel like he's on a path to being a good guy, or a righteous, whatever you want to call it, right? Like, I don't see that in this situation. I think that there are two competitors who are game competitors who are bad guys who want to win, and that worked for them. And I'll be interested to see if he just goes back and says, you know what, I'm not a face, and falls back into his heel ways, and starts another program with someone, and just goes back to being a heel instead of turning face. It's very possible that could happen, because like this isn't nearly on the level of El Parca, but look, again, what Brian said, like nobody took El Parca as a babyface for 18 months. I think in a lot of ways there are certain audience members who will take C-Note as a babyface, but I think the majority of people need to see a lot more, and I'm not sure if he's going to commit to that rehabilitation in that way or if it's just easier to fall back into being a heel.
Brian, what do you say to that?
Which is why I have him aligned as a heel. Sorry.
Don't be, Jim. You're fine. I love it. I love everything that he said, to be honest with you. And I'm sure there's probably some people that are going to hate that or be shocked, but yeah, I think it's totally true. The one thing I would probably, I would disagree with, but I won't touch on right now is some of the comments on Jinx. Jinx absolutely does the work. Do not get that confused, because that is not what I'm talking about. I feel like I have been rather vocal with how I feel where the Jinx character has kind of gone, but that is a different time. But yeah, no, I think he's just totally right, man. You know, Cino, he really has been just a dickhead a majority of his time in OCW. And now it's like that time to where, at least for me, I viewed it as Cino during trying to get his championship back. I viewed him as the babyface, and I felt like he was making those changes because, like Jim said, this guy, when you're going from being able to do like fucking horrendous things to where now you're not really doing it, you're kind of, you know, being different and going about things from a different way, it makes me intrigued and gives me hope that it's like, okay, we're getting a new layer of this character. But, you know, he's right. You know, Cino, he is his own man. He could absolutely sit there and be like, absolutely not. I am not a babyface. I do not want to do self-introspection and feel remorse and regret. So I'm going to still be a douchebag, and then I'll look silly and upset.
Okay, the other person I wanted to ask about is actually clarification for me. So Scotty on the most recent show showed up with Marissa, and I was confused about what the direction was in the presentation of the character. Like, they kind of came off as they were arguing about rights within OCW, and there was kind of like this joke of unionizing kind of thing. So I took Scotty, the character, to be face and leaning based upon the reading that I've been doing, but Marissa is very much a heel. So perhaps you can offer clarification. Did I interpret that segment wrong? Were they arguing, or were they coming to an agreement jointly about things that they believe need to change within OCW?
Based off the subject matter, I think it seemed like they were just in union. I think it just, you have to pay attention more to cadence in terms of like how they spoke. I got a sense of like nobility from Scotty, so that's why for me I was like, okay, sounds like she's a face. And even just kind of like Brian said too, with like the her entries in terms of like text, it seems like there's like a level of like nobility, like kind of like a warrior queen princess type thing. So for
No,
me,
I certainly get that. I get that. I see that. I can sense that. That's
or you kind of mean like, were you just kind of talking about like the specific promo, the specific segment?
Yeah, like why would those two, like, you like if you're somebody who's coming into OCW and you have an inkling as to what's going on in OCW, you're aware that Marissa is a very manipulative person that you cannot trust, and you cannot come to any sort of agreement with that character. So I think that's where I was kind of thrown for a bit of a loop, because I would think and expect that anybody that interacts with her that's on the other side of the alignment chart, so to speak, would interact and say, no, you are in this for yourself for whatever purposes.
How would Scotty know that? Scotty hasn't been around in OCW for that long. She hasn't been here to see the things that Marissa has done and put people through. That's in kind of a way you're kind of metagaming. You're expecting the handler to give a certain response with the character, even though the character wouldn't know that. And I think we've seen that, you know, Scotty, she's gonna give anyone a chance before they prove they don't deserve it. And also, even the shittiest person can still be right or still try to come across as genuine. So I feel like it's more of just maybe planting seeds for something that could happen later on, instead of just, you know, something that's going to be definitive right then and there.
I can only assume. Sorry, go ahead, Jim.
As someone who was the target of some of those accusations, Riot, if you're listening, Dog, if you're listening, we're gonna have a little powwow about that. Anyway, the point being that I think that Scotty as the character is a woman and sees that Bash beat up a woman, and it was something that was sanctioned by OCW, right? So I think regardless of how she may feel about Marissa or how people interpret Melissa, it's a woman or Marissa, it's a woman's issue, right? So I think that, as a normal caring person, you can kind of put differences, or maybe you don't like someone or you think that they're something, but you try to work with them because you feel like change is needed. Now, the answer to Adam's question was really both, because I think it was both. I think they were trying to show a unified front, but trying to create divisiveness between them. They're trying to have this like loose alliance, which is going to lead them to some type of feud, right? And what I think they were trying to do here was position Scotty obviously as the babyface in that position, in that feud, because Marissa clearly is not going to be a babyface anytime soon. It wouldn't make any sense. So that's the way that I look at that. I just think that's what they were trying to accomplish. It just feels like they put themselves in a position to be in the same place and to create that unity and then that divisiveness.
Okay. This kind of leads naturally to what Junko wanted to talk about. It's kind of like this fantasy / face heel turn who we'd like to see do it. And so this is not something that I often spend much time thinking about. So I'm very much not useful in this regards. Because I do kind of slide to the things move fast in OCW, so don't get too comfortable with the character alignment per se. But Junko, you have a list of people that you would like to see turn. So I guess we can kind of think of this as like a fantasy booking scenario so much, which Jay had an opportunity to do. He started off, and he's like, Cass would be my main bad, and then he stopped right there. So you kind of get a chance to go a little bit farther with that now.
He didn't fully commit, so I'm going to do it. Do you want to do heel to face first or face to heel, or do you want to bounce back and forth?
Just bounce back and forth. No reason.
Bounce back and forth. Okay. So obviously, me and you have been pretty contentious about a specific DNS member, so we'll talk about him last. The first one I want to talk about, well, we kind of saw it on Friday, is Sheldon. Sheldon going from face to heel. I like it. I think the reason why I like it is I think we can see a lot of teachings, or I guess mannerisms, of the leader of Sanctum. And I almost like Sheldon can be another version of him, but in his own way, his own German way. I think that would be cool. And I think we're kind of the leader of Sanctum. Wasn't Owen the leader?
Oh, that's interesting. Keep going.
Yeah, right. So I could be wrong. Again, I'm new. I'm a newbie. I'm still a rookie.
No, please keep going. I'm loving
right.
it.
I always, from what I've watched and what I've seen. Again, I like to do a lot of lore dumping and lore diving. And I always got the notion that Owen was the leader.
Interesting.
Right. I could be wrong. Sheldon can fill me in. Owen can fill me in later on, or whatever it gets me. But I always got the notion that Owen was the leader. So for me, I think this would be cool to kind of be of a storyline where it's like, okay, well, Sheldon has always tried to be this baby face, be the good guy, wrestle the right way, things of that nature. And Owen is just like that devil on his shoulder that's coming back now. And because obviously the stuff that's happened with Parca, I think Parca's a really good face. And he does a really good job of making guys question themselves. Right. So I think this can kind of be the manifestation of that. So I would love to see that. You guys can give me your thoughts.
All right, we'll just go right down the list here. Jordan, the idea of seeing Sheldon go to the dark side, yay or nay?
No.
Okay. And nay as well. Jim?
Nope, don't want to see it.
Okay. Moving on, Junko. Who's next?
Oh, you guys are lame. So now from heel to face, this one's been talked about a bit. This one's kind of tough. I don't know. You guys may agree with me. It's Jinx. Jinx going from heel to face. The thing that would really determine whether this is effective or not is whether he's going to cut back on the spooky hocus pocus stuff and become a little bit more psychological. I think that would be cooler. And then after that, the sky's the limit. Kind of like I'm thinking kind of like Raven. I'm thinking kind of Sting. I'm thinking Aleister Black in his prime when he was in NXT. That's what I'm thinking.
Okay, Jim, start with you. The idea of Jinx going.
Well, look, I would at some point, a long time from now, because Jinx is my man. He's in DNS. Potentially like to see that, and I think it would make sense for him as a character. He could make that work. Personally, I believe that it would be something worth seeing.
Brian.
Absolutely not.
I am in the
More
nay
voodoo.
Oh, go ahead.
More voodoo. Be
More voodoo?
I am in the category of nay.
Him.
I'm nay as well. I would like to see him become more deranged in a less supernatural way, but I don't see a desire I like him as heel on his current trajectory.
Well, no, these are not things that need to happen right now.
Right. I get it.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
But it's hard for me to say what's going to happen, 2-3 months down the road. So it's easier for me to think in a more immediate future about the character and what they're currently doing right now. So
Gotcha.
next person.
This one from face to heel, Trey Golden. Trey's got a lot of real estate when it comes to this turn, based off of discourse in the chat, based off of him feeling like he's being held down, things of that nature. I think obviously he could either steer either left or right, doesn't really matter. But I think there's a lot of real estate just based off of the fact that he feels inadequate based off of his classmates. Kind of what I got from our discussion a few days ago. You guys let me know what you think.
Brian.
Nah.
Jim.
No, all of his friends are baby faces. It would make literally no sense for him to do that at this point. He's built some baby face goodwill with the Jordan Trans stuff. Last thing I'd want to see from Trey right now.
Now, this one I will say yes to, because I do agree with you. There's a lot of material to potentially work with, but he's also somebody who's jumped back and forth quite a bit. So his consistency is the more pressing matter at this point. But I get what you're saying with the amount of material that he could potentially use for feeling marginalized within OCW, and then the character's insecurities. So kind of, I'm a 50%. I'm 50-50.
50%?
Yep.
Next, this one is purely this one's purely selfish. Devin Flash. I put Mass Effects as well too, but more so Devin, just simply because I've seen more of Devin as a singles competitor, and he's pretty much won everything I've seen. I like Devin. I think Devin can go either way, but just based off of what kind of signified it for me was I believe it was a segment a few weeks ago where he kind of made out with like this person who he thought was Marissa. I guess he got like pink eye or something to do with his eye. So yeah, I think again, we need more baby faces. He's just somebody that I nominated that I think would be really good. He's also amazing in the ring.
I'm going to start with this one. I ship this. I am for it. I like the idea. Jim.
I like the idea, and I'm going to expand on it a little bit more. I think that like Mass Effect was a great launching point for him. He's having good tag team reign. We'll see how long they reign as the tag team champions. Flash is really built to be a singles wrestler, and I think it'll be like the whole growing up and maturity thing for him personally. Turning babyface and going that way, kind of the way that him and Riot have been presented as like an immature tag team. We like to party, and eventually it's like, he'll grow up and he'll turn into a good baby face. So I'd love to see this.
Brian.
Like, first off, I was going to agree with this, but I refuse to do a 3-0. And the Ryvon disrespect is so crazy.
No. I put
I heard you, but from both, but like, because this is crazy to me that Adam and Jim are just Marty Jannetting Ryvon when it's like
who
these
the hell
men are a team.
No one kicked him.
You're wanting Devin to kick this man. You're wanting to put him in obscurity.
I didn't say that.
I am disgusted with you, but I'm going to expand because I do think Devin would be a phenomenal babyface. I think Mass Effect, because I hate the fucking trope that a tag team has to break up. I would love to see the maturing and being like, you know what, like we're gonna take this more serious from both of them. I think both. Now, mind you, obviously there's the outside of the factor how Rye has 13,437 cause. If Rye were to lock in as Ryvon, I think both Ryvon and Devin could, the world, like the stars and beyond are their launching and their landing point. So I do ship that, but put some respect on Ryvon's name.
So you agree with us, but you just want to
things.
argue.
No.
Eventually.
I agree with Junko. I don't agree with you and Jim.
Okay. All right. The last one, I think this is the last one, right? This is number 5, right?
Second last one. We got two more.
Okay, go ahead.
The last one from face to heel, Anthony Martin. I can see his personality. This is just me kind of having conversations with Amart and just kind of seeing Amart in discourse. I think a lot of that defiance can be put into his character, and he can be a kind of a compelling shit heel. I'm getting kind of the sense of like CM Punk. You guys let me know.
Brian.
I love you, Junko. That's fucking awesome. Yeah, I'm totally cool with it, but I'm just an Amart fanboy.
Jim.
I don't need the professor back. I'm good.
Wow.
What lame.
My vote is yes. He's such a delightful idiot. Like, he's just I can't help it. I love the music. You make me sick. I love that music. I love that theme song. And he loses so many matches that you can't. I feel sympathetic for him in many cases. So I'm all on board with this one. Yes.
Give me the pivot Mass Effect double turn when the pivot turn heel to beat them as the tag champs. And then there it is. Like, everyone gets happy. You know, you get the pivot heel turn, Mass Effect can be baby faces, money moves.
Okay. Last one. This is the one that's going to cause some consternation here.
This is going to be interesting. So I have the leader of the criminals. I have the biggest fan, which is me.
Well, hold on. The leader of the criminals. Didn't you just drive Debbie into the fucking lake?
Like, you saw me leave. You saw me leave the arena. You didn't see me drive into the lake.
You never see me do anything.
And then we have a lot of people who have a lot of opinions when it comes to this wrestler, but Alexander Bolik, the Heat.
My son.
Wow.
I don't. Okay, so me and Adam have gone back and forth about this. I don't want Alex, if you're listening, I don't want him to turn face. I don't see the point. It doesn't make any sense. He's really good. He's really good at what he's doing right now in terms of, especially in the ring, the antics in the ring, the antics outside of the ring. He has the best team in OCW, in my opinion. All of these things, I just think the entire package of Alexander Bolik screams heel, and it needs to be that way for a while. I don't think he needs to go face right now. I don't see the point. Adam's going to tell you otherwise.
Well, I'm not going to tell you otherwise. I'm actually going to let Brian go first, though.
This has been so interesting hearing Junko's opinion on the leaders of factions, but Bolek is an interesting topic. I just at this point, I don't think there's anything that could truly redeem him. The things that he has done in such a short amount of time are just, why would anyone like him? Why would anyone give him the benefit of the doubt? Or why would anyone even feel sorry for him? Like, the guy has done so many bad things that it's just like, dude, I want you to get hit by a bus.
Damn. But fair. All right. I'm going to go next because Jim will speak on this. I've gone back and forth a lot on this because this has been a conversation that's been ongoing for quite some time now, actually. Before another kidnapping, I was I was like, oh yeah, he can, because I feel that Bash can be the representation of the greater evil, and then by comparison, if Bullock was to rebel against him, that would give the start to the motivating of, or the sympathy that you might draw towards him. So that being said, that changed pretty quickly after the current direction that's ongoing at this moment. When that happened, I'm like, I can't support that anymore. But there was also the talk, I think I made the argument that long term, like 6 months of redemption, and it gets longer and longer the longer this goes on, actually. But the idea of seeing him as this HBK style face who you can't help but to cheer for is something that I could see down the road. But my opinion has changed significantly in light of the recent story that's ongoing. But at the same time, we've seen in professional wrestling people commit atrocities before, and then they go on to be cheered by the fans, and that can become very confusing. I think that does happen in OCW. So, Jim, you're very strict on this. Go ahead.
So, listen. As far as Bullock is concerned, could he be a face? Yes. Don't test me, Adam. I'm sure I could get evil enough to make it happen. But there's no reason for him to be a face right now. He's a good little shit heel. And he does the shit very well. In terms of like shit heels, he's different from Jordan Trance, but there's some similarities to them. Swarmy, that type of stuff. And I think that role fits him very well right now. We have a lot of heels in OCW, but not necessarily many of those styles that can pull it off. So I think he's in a good spot right now just to continue doing what he's doing. And yes, he took Bobby, and we'll see where that's going to go with Bobby. You're welcome, Bullock, for the bracelet there, buddy. But the point overall is I could see it happening eventually. I don't think that there's a point in doing it right now or anytime soon, for that matter. He just doesn't need it, nor does anyone else.
Love a Rex dedicated babyface run with his how he currently looks. I would love to see him, just really try to be a good guy and not edge the line like he's known for. It's great, but it's like, I truly want Mr. CCW or Mr. OCW. Like, I want to see like a Rex good guy run.
Junko, that'd be interesting. Yeah, that would be interesting. I feel he has a lot of fan base in terms of like, I think people just enjoy the chaos with him. It would be nice to kind of see him, especially in terms of like programming. I'm not really familiar with him in terms of like segments and things of that nature. I would like to see that, the character aspect of it, and really scream babyface. I'm kind of with you, Brian.
Jim.
Yeah, it'd be really fun to see Rex do that. He, like you said, he's always kind of toed the line as far as what I've seen. 1 minute he may be a bad guy, the next minute he may be a good guy. It's kind of interchangeable depending upon who he's up against. So that would be interesting and fun, and I think Jay would enjoy it. So that would definitely be something worth seeing.
Hey, I'm always Team Rex, so you can't shake me off of that foundation. So. Unfortunately. The next thing that we were going to talk about doesn't really fit with this current narrative because we've had a pretty in-depth and long talk. The next conversation would kind of diminish all of what we've done here. So I'm going to say there's not really a reason to touch upon that. I'm pretty happy with what we got through today.
Man, he just wants to get you guys out of here that quick. That's really upsetting.
We get to talk D&D. All right, here, I'll leave it up to to you guys. Junko, do you want to talk about dodging?
Oh, see, I thought we were going to keep going on what I was like. I thought, because off of your list, I'm just saying you had mine and Junko's name. I'm just getting completely creative control over, but that's.
Oh, you want full creative control. Okay, fine.
I didn't want full creative control. I just thought you put my name on that topic as well. I was gonna oblige.
Well, okay. Well, you've been talking. All right, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna be fair. I'm sorry. I'm gonna be fair, but I also am being cognizant of time, right? Because we're doing well. Let's keep it under an hour. All right.
We can go over an hour. It's fine.
That's fine.
Okay. Jeez, everybody's coming after me in my spreadsheet with very distinct times.
Listen, you gotta get a little loose.
Like this. You don't like this.
You gotta get a little loose, get a little lax, and enjoy the vibes, man. We went almost an hour and a half.
Now. I'm breathing heavy.
I'm proud of you. Thank you for allowing me this platform. But another
you get 3 names. You get 3.
Yeah, of course. I already got one. Rex was obviously numero uno. Numero dos is maybe odd, but I'd love to see a Bash babyface. I think if Bash either, in my headcanon, Bash gets fucked over and taken out of DNS by Alexander Bolek, and he kind of goes back to the root game. Like, you lost your empire, bro. So now he shows us he's the hacker, and he's gonna destroy DNS from within. We sprinkle some matches in, but give me a Bash babyface run against DNS. Let me just see DNS crumble to the ground.
I don't like that idea at all.
I'm 50-50.
Jim, are you capable of being a good person?
Yeah, it's funny. Actually, my kind of, I've had many different ideas for this, obviously, if I ever wanted to do it and how I would do it. But I probably wouldn't. I don't know if I go the route of gutting DNS. I think we'll see what happens with DNS eventually. What we do with it, and how we decide to go, where people go from there. I don't want to say too much about that, but overall, I could do it. I have ideas in my head. I just don't want to say too much.
Okay. All right. You got one more.
I know it's fair. It's fair. I want to see a Mark Reese heel turn. I want to see Mark Reese finally snap.
Ooh.
The Dark Reese thing had me very, very engaged with the idea. I was definitely on board with it. I'm like, this is going to be pretty freaking dramatic. But it didn't happen, and I still haven't really come to a conclusion in my mind if that's a good thing or a bad thing, to be honest.
Always there.
Yeah, that's true. Okay, I guess it's only fair enough then that I give Jim the opportunity to do some fantasy booking here as well.
Heel 17.
No, baby, no.
I think you should just go away, to be honest with you.
Mad rude.
No,
if I go away, who stops you from getting to the CCW title?
The OCW title? But no, I don't want to heel B17. I think B17 is Mr. OCW right now. Like, if there is someone on the posters for OCW, it would be B17.
I agree.
Like,
it would be if you oh man, that would be bad. I think the landscape would just look very weird.
Yeah, call me daddy on Vogue magazine.
Here's one for you. I want to see a Bell heel run.
Ooh.
Yeah, I'm for that. I could go with that.
I'm all on board with that one. I like that.
Okay. And then the last one. I would like to see a nice little babyface run from Mad Dog Davis. I think he could redeem himself, and he could eventually be a babyface down the line. I think he's got it going. And I know he's got PD, if we're talking about the handler, but eventually Mad Dog would be one that I'd like to see.
Sell me a bit more. Like what like storyline? How would you frame it?
Well, I mean, if you remember, I mean, you weren't here, but like if you read early Mad Dog stuff, like I did, especially because we were getting involved with DNS, right? Like his connection to his family is something that he lost. He went through being an alcoholic. You know what I mean? That's the type of thing that people can get behind. You know, someone who's in recovery, someone who's trying to reconnect with their family. What do you think? Like, look at Valkyrie, for example. Like what the crowd is so behind her. Why? Because she has that drama. She had a drama with her family, like in the build to that. And I know everyone didn't love that, but the whole point was like trying to connect with the crowd, you know, and things like that. I think Mad Dog has those, you know, kind of character traits built into him in a way that, you know, maybe other DNS members don't. You know, as far as redeemability qualities at this point. So if you're looking at like face turns, he's probably like, if you were ranking them, he'd be like number one on my list. You know what I mean? Like, so that just interests me, and I love Mad Dog. We're gonna keep him. Don't get any ideas, anybody. But you know, just in terms of fantasy booking, that would be very, very, very fun.
I agree with that one. I actually thought that was a direction that was going to happen. But we didn't get it, and that's fine because that's the handler's choice. And I really do like PD as well, although that's not the topic of the conversation. Point is, I could see it. I thought we were going to see it. Brian, did you?
I hard disagree. I don't want that.
Cool.
Yeah, I don't.
Interesting.
I think because of the fact that PD is around, that I just right now, no. If PD is around, I do not see a face Mad Dog. I would love a face Mad Dog, but I do not see a world where both of them exist at the same time. I know they both would be very different baby faces, but I just think as a handler, and I know that's not the greatest. I just feel like as a handler, I would want to focus on one character of the same alignment and give it my absolute all instead of having two and trying and, you know, spreading myself between the different ways I'm trying to make them be baby faces.
Yeah, I kind of agree.
I'm almost certain.
As a handler with two characters of the same alignment, it doesn't bother me. You know, like I focus on two heels. It's fine on me. Like,
oh yeah, I think it's easier because one's a male and one's a female.
I think also just being a heel is overall easier. But
yeah,
no,
we talked about that last week. Here's a quick one, just kind of to potentially throw out there. Who is somebody that absolutely positively should not turn? Like, you could not see them as the other alignment whatsoever.
Mark Reese.
You just made an argument for that.
Yeah, but still, Mark Reese.
Somebody other than Mark Reese.
Dragana Caesar.
Yeah, you stole my answer, motherfucker.
There's no world where Drago or Dragana are heels, right? Yeah. Like not in the more modern OCW.
I think that would cripple OCW if that ever happened.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. I agree. I'm biased. Emp can't. Emp and Dragana are kind of the same thing, just the opposite alignment. I don't think.
All right.
I think she could pull it off. I think the handler. I think there's nothing she can't do. But I just think, again, those are two characters that are kind of the foundations of OCW. It'd be weird for me.
I strongly disagree, actually. As far as the dichotomy of the women's division, with the majority of the higher up representation at this point, you know, that are in feuds, etc., being in, you know, heel on the heel side. I think Emp being a face could be very beneficial, and I think that her moving could be something that would be really good. But, you know, I don't know. You know, I don't know what Emp has planned. Who knows? Emp always pulls it off, so, you know, there's nothing to worry about there. But the whole point is, you know, I don't agree with that.
All right. Anybody have any last thing they want to get out there with that last final statement of can't see it, won't see it, shouldn't see it?
Yeah, I can't really think of anybody else.
Selfishly, I want to see a Paul Pugh heel run. Fuck the good guy, Paul Pugh.
You got so many years worth of content to go see that.
Oh, that's fair. But you know, 2024. I'll say it again.
Just,
Who cares?
I guess we can close with this one. Last question. Do y'all agree? Do y'all agree with Jay when it comes to Cass? Could Cass go
What?
babyface?
No.
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 Well, he didn't say. He didn't say. He just said he would book Cass as like his main heel. Do you think he could go the opposite way?
No.
Cass was a babyface a while back, right after the Chamber loss. He went into this like gamer mode Cass kind of thing, and it was fun, but it always felt very awkward for me. And I don't know if that's me projecting ideology upon him that I shouldn't have, but it was really hard for me to see Cass as a face, and so I'm not. I would book him as my big bad in most scenarios if presented with the option. So no. Jim, did you got something there?
Yeah, well, I mean, I see Cass as a heel. I guess you know his character, the presentation, the whole entire thing. More often than not, you would look at him as a heel based on the presentation alone. So I would stick with him there.
All right. Well, we gotten through a lot today. Happy about it. Good conversations here. You sent us into this mad dash of craziness, Jordan. So you're going to send us out of this mad dash of craziness. So this has been Talking OCW. I hope you enjoyed it. Brian, send us on our way.
Great conversation today, folks. Really appreciate Adam, Junko, and Jim. Really thank you all for your time and listening. I'm sure we'll be back sooner than you'd rather like it, but hey, we're going to be here. That's all. Let's talk OCW. We're out this bitch.
Bye.
More questions.
No.
On.